guys, welcome back to another episode of the Retail Perch. We're right in the middle of summer, Gary. I'm sure you're feeling the heat like I am here.
Quite literally, it has been really hot out here in Denver.
Yeah. So my, the mountains is no escape for Gary, even though he's out in Colorado.
No, and it's hard to believe that we're now past the 4th of July. The summer's going too fast.
And I just stepped out on my deck a few minutes ago, and I suddenly was reminded that I can't step out barefoot. I had to quickly run back in, get some slippers and step. It was 94 degrees. My dog refused to go out. That's when you know it's really hot. Anyway, so here we are. We've been having some fantastic guests and some great conversations. And for those of you who listened to Gary's and my predictions at the end of last year about our top 5 things for technology, well, one of those technologies is what we're going to talk about today, which is smart carts. So I'm excited about this episode coming up. And Gary might blame me because I'm hogging the limelight here in this particular episode, but I have a lot of questions for And our guest is none other than CEO of Shopic, and who recently moved to Boston, I'm guessing from Tel Aviv. Welcome, Raz Golan, CEO of Shopic, to the Retail Perch. Great to have you on as a guest. And if you can, just introduce yourself to the guests and tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thank you very much. Happy to be here. So a little bit about me, originally not from the retail space, actually from the intelligence forces of the IDF in Israel. That was my first real professional experience. Also where I met my co-founder and CTO, Eran Kravitz. We worked together and mostly on very deep technological projects, research, development, project management. And stayed in that area for a few years after my service, and at some point reconnected with Iran and decided to start a company together. We didn't know what we were going to do. We just knew that as good friends we want to do something big and change an industry. So very methodically we started thinking of problems that we want to solve and started doing some basic market analysis. And actually, when we got to the physical retail space, we stopped immediately. We said, wow, there's so much to be done here. Things haven't really changed, or specifically the way we shop at retail stores haven't really changed for so many years. While, in other industries, things are moving fast. So we wanted to take this challenge and therefore started Shopic a little bit over 7 years ago. Today, fast forward, we built what we have, our unique cart solution, but actually it started from a slightly different approach. We can talk about it if you want.
Would love to hear about that origin story, but this is interesting, Gary. We have somebody from the intelligence community. Last week, we had somebody who was the youngest legislative council voted member from Germany. It was pretty amazing. So clearly, people find retail to be an exciting space to be in. So tell us, how did you get started? What got you onto Shopic? What was the inspiration?
Well, first of all, us as consumers, right? We went to stores, not specifically grocery, any store, and we saw that, the most frustrating moment is when you're ready to pay and leave. You want to give your money to the retailer, and then they hold you back. And it's just frustrating. And obviously, that was the first problem that we saw. We started to quantify it. We understood the problem of, the cost of this in terms of lost sales, labor, operations, floor space, and so on. And then as we dug deeper into shrink and, where the market is going, e-com affecting physical retail, we understood that something has to be done. Us being really deep technologists wanted to bring that edge and really, solve it with something technological. And initially, we actually developed a scan and go solution. We said, computer vision wasn't there. Amazon Go didn't exist. And we just built a scan and go solution with a twist. We built a machine learning based layer that can predict suspicious behavior. Very similar to, let's say, fraud detection with credit cards, right? Sometimes they stop your transaction, they say it looks suspicious. So something similar for scan and go, because we knew that the moment you give this freedom level to shoppers in stores, you can basically forget about monitoring, and it's very open. So we worked on that for about 3.5 years. We deployed our scan and go in many countries with many different retailers, from Toys R Us in Israel to Walgreens in the US. And we learned a lot, as cyber security professionals, we got to understand what is a retail store from the retailer's perspective. How important is store operations? How powerful are the manager and employees? How important they are in, making their business a success. And all those learnings got us to where we are today. And to make a long story short, at some point we understood that scan and go isn't going to scale. And we stopped all of our initiatives around that and rebuilt our vision completely around a solution that is lightweight, that can be deployed in any store. Well, by the way, and we narrowed down only on grocery. We took that decision with challenges with fashion and other formats. We wanted to be very focused. So we wanted to bring something that is lightweight, that is not disrupting store operations. So not, new labor, new operational procedures. We don't want to touch the store infrastructure. No installation of sensors, no additional servers in the store, floor space, et cetera, and obviously do not touch the carts. So we invented our flip-on device that connects to every standard shopping cart and basically turns it into a smart cart only while shoppers are using it. So, shopper would enter the store, grab the Shopic device, connect it to the cart with one click. We have this plastic mount that it connects to on the handle. Then everything is automatic. We use computer vision and cameras to detect everything that's going on around the cart. And here it's, the heaviest technology that we could bring to retail on a small device on a cart, a big challenge of its own. And then obviously when shoppers are ready to pay and leave the store, they just pay either on a payment kiosk or on the device itself, return it, and go out with the same cart, and all their items are bagged already.
So let me get this right. So this is the experience is shopper walks into the store, takes the retailer's regular cart, whatever's available outside, walk in. There's one of these devices, and I see it on your website, they pick up, latches onto the cart, and it's equipped with cameras. And does the user have to sign in or do anything to get on?
It depends on the retailer. Some retailers, they have to log in with their loyalty membership. Some it's open for all.
Okay, all right. But you have to do something to initiate this process, like start an order, right? Okay. And then as you pick up stuff, whether you take it in or take it out, the cameras automatically identify the action and add that item into your cart. Kind of like walking through a physical website where the cart items are being added into your digital cart type of thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. That's true. That's
perfect. And how accurate is the solution? I mean, in terms of, lighting, other traffic, how full the cart is.
Yeah. And I can tell you 100 other challenges that we have there in terms of, edge cases and algorithms. Today we are at 98.9% accuracy on average. In very large stores, we work with some of the largest format supermarkets in the US with catalogs that are over 50,000 items that are all supported by computer vision with that level of accuracy.
Yeah, Shekar, I really like Shopic's approach. I've seen, I think probably all the other smart carts out there in the market, and many of them require a special dedicated cart that just becomes a real expensive hassle for the retailer, right? They've got to replace their entire or some part of, their cart inventory. These things are challenged by the weather in certain parts of the country. They have to be charged. Just not an ideal scenario. The approach that Raz and his team have taken to effectively making that smart card portable through that clip-on device addresses a lot of those problems. So I think, absolutely onto something. Raz, before I forget this, if you would spend just a couple minutes and talk about what it takes for a retailer to deploy your smart cards, right? What do you need in terms of data feeds, infrastructure? Do you need to build up a digital foundation of product images across the store? If you would speak to some of that.
Yeah, of course. So the process in terms of the timeline takes around 10 weeks to onboard a retailer on a chain level. Then every store is a matter of hours or a day maximum. On a chain level, we integrate with the POS or any other relevant system for catalog, promotion, pricing, loyalty memberships, coupons, etc. All the basic information that we need to present on the screen. That's on the digital level. Usually the payment is done through either a payment kiosk or on the device itself. So payment kiosk is it's another POS in the store, so no special integration there. And for on-device payment, we do a payment gateway integration like they have online. So nothing complex there. On the physical level, again, because of a very light approach, all we need is shelves basically at the store entrance for the devices with our docking stations that charge them. Same at the checkout area. Usually we combine our checkout stands in the self-checkout area, also more efficient in terms of manpower. So there, a few stands has to be added or to convert existing self-checkout to support that. Once we complete the chain level integrations in those 10 weeks, then, every store is really quick. Oh, and one last thing, for the computer vision to support and recognize, everything properly, the initial setup also takes a few weeks. It's about, I would say, a week per 10,000 items. That's the ratio, but it's a one-time process. We do it once, and then the system is training itself automatically.
Got it. And then if new products come into the store, which they probably do, there's lots of, whether it's hot, fresh items or, seasonal items that keep coming in.
Of course.
There's some process where you got to keep this updated on a regular basis.
Yeah, but that's an automatic process, and that's very important. We call it active learning. Our system is basically recognizing new items that got into the store. Once you put them in the cart as a shopper, we ask you to scan the barcode. Our cameras, while you do that, take pictures, upload it to our system, and then we train it automatically. So our shoppers are training the items for us as they shop when they enter the catalog as new items.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So from a perspective of integrating with the point of sale system, so is that a more tricky part of the system because there's so many point of sale systems out there, and to be able to integrate with them all could be a challenge, right?
We've seen a lot already. So we have a great team that is very experienced. But I must say that it's just something you have to do. It's not it's technical. So
right.
Once we have the two teams connected, they do it in a matter of weeks.
Okay. And some of the retailers you work with, are they integrating their loyalty programs to it, able to convey on the screen, points or special promotions for the shopper? And are any of those tied to location where that shopper is in the store?
So yes, we are connecting to the loyalty systems for personalization and ease of use for shoppers. They can see their receipts and everything is in their account. In terms of location, we are in some cases use the location if we have the location information from the retailer, to hyper personalize those things.
Yeah, I would think that if they have some kind of planogram, Gary, and you're scanning an item, approximately where the shopper is without any
Exactly. It's very easy. By the way, a world of its own, communicating promotions and offers in the aisle when you know who the shopper is and what they're holding in their hand, what they have in their cart, is a power that didn't exist so far in physical grocery retail. And it's really, we see great numbers around that.
I can tell you that it did exist, and I know a little company that used to do this many years ago. I think we were so far ahead of the time, Gary. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, I think so. Bird's Eye was
We were doing it in 2014, by the way. So
wow.
Yeah. And I think we were just way ahead of our time. That's what it was.
So, Raz, what you've got to have all sorts of incredible data coming off of those devices. Do you feed back to the retailer different analytics around number of shoppers coming in the store, aisle traffic, conversion rates, dwell times, all that type of info?
Yes, we do. We work with many different teams within the retailers to help them better understand their shoppers and also the store operations. We measure many new data points, all the things that you mentioned and more.
Yeah.
So here's a question. So of the people walking into the store where you have these systems set up, do you have a sense of what percentage of people actually choose to use these devices? And have you kind of seen that engagement grow? I'm sure that's one of the metrics that you're tracking very carefully.
Of course. I would say that usually when we start in the store, on average, we process in the very early days 10 to 15% of the store revenue. And as we grow, our best performing stores, we process half of the revenue, 50%, which is,
So is there ever a case where there are no devices available because they ran out?
All the time. We are, in those stores in peak hours. Sometimes people wait to get a device.
Huh.
Yeah.
So 10 to 15% of shoppers coming in use the Shopic Smart Cart, and they're accounting for approximately 50% of that store's revenue.
No. In the beginning, when we start deploying the store, it's common for us to process 10 to 15% of the revenue of the store, and gradually we grow to 40, 50% in the best store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And is there an impact then on the number of lanes the retailer needs to have open? I mean, are these mostly where you can pay on the card, or do you kind of do some integration where you create a QR code with a bulk upload into a POS to scan? Like I've seen some solutions where you kind of convert the card into a QR code, just scan at the point of sale.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
So it's both. We let shoppers choose if they want to do the really fast track or the less fast. But of course, we have the ratio. We work with the retailers together, and they see that the more adoption they get on the card, the less lanes they need open. Of course, it's one of the biggest benefits.
So what if you can share what types of labor savings are retailers experiencing with this? Yeah.
So the immediate one is checkout labor that is being redirected to other tasks in the store. That's the most significant one. In other layers, I just let me shed some more light about the whole platform, because we see it as a much wider solution than just checkout. We basically see three different layers. Checkout is the most basic one. On top of that, the promotions, and we call it the marketing communications, retail media, upsells and cross-sells in the aisle, what we discussed. And thirdly, the data and insights. With this data and our capabilities, we not only monitor the content of the carts, we also have cameras facing sideways that map the stores and shelves. So, once we kick this in, we can impact, shelf stocking and just better management of the store, because they know exactly where they need to go, where they need to restock. So the efficiency will then enter the in-store employees and not only the checkout staff.
Nice. So you're able to detect out of stocks and that type thing as the carts are moving up and down the aisle.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's huge.
Wow.
That's,
And
a business of its own.
yeah, I know. I think
Yeah.
it's, I know, I think it's inevitable at some point. Yeah, I think we were talking, Gary, a few months ago, we were talking about trends. I mean, the shopping cart essentially hasn't changed in 90 years, right? I think around 1935 or 1940 was when the
Yeah.
shopping cart was invented. Once you
Well,
it was self-serve
self-service,
grocery.
yeah.
Once it moved from, counter-based grocery to self-serve grocery supermarkets.
Right.
That's about when the shopping, in fact, I met somebody who is the son or grandson of the inventor of the shopping cart. I think
Oh,
it was out
really?
of Oklahoma somewhere. Yeah. So it was
Wow.
pretty interesting. I mean, to think that there's very few things I think you can say that were invented 70 years ago that haven't kind of been changed or revolutionized, right? It
Yes.
seems like everything has changed. And that's fantastic. So what about, how does a retailer potentially plan for growth? Like you said, in some cases, people are waiting for these devices, right? How do you guys then help a retailer plan for, hey, here's where you start and here's the growth plan? How do they account for that in terms of?
Yeah. You mean operationally?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's operations, I would say, is the key factor for success here. Because once you prove the experience is great, shoppers love it, it's working, and it makes money, obviously, for the retailer. Then it's just a matter of how quickly we can deploy it. We just did it in Israel, for example. We just completed a 30-store rollout with the largest retailer in the country. And what we did there is we just put a lot of emphasis on training and getting the right partners to, the integration partners to help us. So, taking care of hardware installation, maintenance, and working closely with the store staff in every store is really important. And this is why, initially we designed the solution in such a way that, again, the level of intrusiveness to the store would be minimal. Because when you think about it, grocery stores, they run their store, they know how to sell grocery. And, adding such a system, to run live, to process 30, 40, 50% of the revenue, it becomes a critical system in the store. So it has to be extremely simple and extremely reliable. So it's all about that. The technology is nice. I love it, but it's not the center of it. It's just a means to get the best experience out there, but it has to be first and foremost, scalable, easily deployable, and that's the focus that we put today. Exactly.
I mean, it's hardware, so things can go wrong. I mean, batteries can go bad, and
exactly.
So I'm sure you've got to thought through what that support infrastructure looks like and how to make sure these devices are supported.
Yeah.
Now, are these devices leased or owned by the retailer? What's?
Yeah, we offer both options actually. Some retailers prefer this or the other, but we know how to work with both.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you update the hardware. I mean, like, chips and everything gets updated all the time, right? So you got to keep these things updated. Are these like OTA updates on the system or over the air type?
Yeah, if it's offered, yes, we update every week, more or less, our versions, a week or two. Yeah, for hardware, if you can do it over the air, that's a great company, to solve that problem. But
just bend down, make sure it doesn't hit
exactly.
you. We're doing nothing.
Exactly. But no, for that, it's a little bit more complicated. But also here, by the way, we partnered, and we chose carefully, our processors, our cameras, all the important parts are carefully chosen. We work with great, hardware leaders from the industry. So for now, we see great performance of our devices. It's not the first generation. It's already the third generation that we have in the stores, working on the next one already.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I think this is exciting technology. I mean, we've seen solutions, I think back in several years ago, Gary, in Stop and Shop, they had the hand scan gun, hand. I think they even have it at Tesco in England in many
Yes.
stores where you
Yeah.
can walk
Yeah.
in, pick up one of these hand scanners, but you had to do the scanning, and you could do pretty much everything on the device, but it was you having to scan everything in. So I guess the retailer had to then depend on some trust, and it couldn't be deployed everywhere, based
Yeah.
on where the store is located and stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, not most of the mistakes are not malicious. We did a thorough study on that to get our numbers right. It's mostly honest mistakes, and for that you just need a reliable system that will be able to remind the shopper not to miss anything. And most people, they fix it, and they have no malicious intentions.
I guess it's like the weighing scale on the self-checkout, where if you scan an item and it's not placed on the tray next to you, it keeps reminding you to make sure it's placed in the basket next to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the where do you think retailers are in terms of mentally adopting and getting comfortable? What I've noticed, one of the things, Raz, is whenever there's new technology, it's all really cool, and there are a few people who obviously jump on it, and they're early adopters. They want to be ahead, but there's typically kind of like a mental hurdle that they have to jump across to buy into the whole idea that this is actually okay, right?
Yeah.
It's like maybe initially, when the GPS came in and we all used Rand McNally maps, Gary, to drive around. I don't know. We're probably, aging ourselves here.
Absolutely dating ourselves here.
Completely dating ourselves, right? So, and when the GPS came out, a lot of people like, I don't know if I can trust this GPS thing to give me the right directions. And I had a map in my hand. I could see where I need to make a right. And there is that hesitation. So how do you help them overcome that hesitation of adopting technology?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think, it's all about how you look at the relationship, or the fact that you understand that it's a relationship. Many startups start very small, obviously, like every company. But from the first moment where we chose our partners, the retailers that we work with, we always looked at it from a long-term perspective, because we knew how critical this solution for their stores, it touches the most sensitive part of their business, how their shoppers buy. And we always had this great respect to what we do with them. And I think, I hope, once they see that, this approach is, handling everything very delicately and working with iterations, listening to feedback, I think this is the way to go in very early stages of a product. Obviously, from the other side, you must have the courageous innovators that want to disrupt the market and really be the first ones to bring the best in class to their stores. And we see that too. Some are not like that, and that's fine. They'll join the party at later stages. But I think that today, most of the solutions that you see, the cart solutions, are based on either complex hardware, if it's, what we call monolithic carts, like new carts that are being built. It just takes time to develop and stabilize. Or if it's on complex software like we do, computer vision, it takes, again, time to build and stabilize. The algorithms are so complex. So you need a very good team for that. Even if you have a good team, you need the capital to work on it for, several years. And I think only today we started seeing that maturity level that can take us to dozens of stores like we are at, and then hundreds and thousands in the next few years. But it all got to that, tipping point where you start seeing real deployments and not just pilots.
Yeah. And I assume, since you just moved from Israel to the US here, you see the US as a significant potential market that is going to grow.
Correct. Yeah, we have a lot of positive feedback and good partners that we work with here. So yeah, we believe in this market.
That's fantastic. That's terrific. So from a retailer perspective, so what is the kind of like, how do they measure the ROI on this?
Yeah.
How do you educate them on what the ROI is?
Yeah. I think there are things that you can easily measure and things that are just a great impact, but hard to measure. For example, in almost every store that we deployed our solution, the NPS, the store general NPS, broke a record every time. Highest NPS ever recorded in some of the stores that we've seen chain-wide. So, how can you quantify that? So usually we see that shoppers that use our solution, if you compare them to themselves before and after, they just buy more. They're happier, they're more loyal to the brand, they spend more time buying and not waiting in line. When they take an item from the shelf, they put it in a bag in the cart, and that's it. They don't need to take it out. So they do not rethink whether they really need it or not.
Yeah.
And obviously the fact that we communicate promotions and coupons, right in the aisle, makes a big difference. The conversion of those promotions is much higher. So all these, parameters really contribute to higher sales, and our stores see it. So that's a huge factor. Labor utilization, much more efficient. That's a big factor. Our shrink level is very, very low compared to self-checkout. We have cameras monitoring the carts all the time. So we know exactly what's going on. Obviously, you can fool the system if you want, but, professional shoplifters, they will never use these kind of solutions. So that's not really an issue. It's more of honest mistakes.
It's not like you
with the
can insist
exception
that if you're a shoplifter, please use the system.
no, it's fine. They can do whatever they want. But, we are not an anti-theft system, but we just want to keep the whole process secure and in control. That's very, very important. So, the error rate is basically system errors, right? Like algorithm mistakes and all that. And again, because the accuracy level is so high, it's pretty much meaningless. So that's a big factor. And many others. We have our secret sauce here of discussing it with the retailers and really demonstrating the value. That's the basic level. When we think about the future, more advanced communication with shoppers, bringing the brands into the story. We have lots of real estate on the screen. We're starting to partner with them and offering more complex ads and promotions to be available not only for the retailer. So that's a big revenue stream. The data for the retailers and for the brands, it's also very, very valuable. And lastly, store efficiency. What I mentioned about the shelf, reducing the out of stock levels of the store, and just better utilizing the sales floor staff to do their tasks more efficiently.
So clearly, because this goes on the cart, is that typically mean that you're more engaged with shoppers who have bigger baskets on their trips, as opposed to somebody who's coming in for 10 items or less, bread, egg, milks, and cookies, right?
Yeah, we see all sorts of shoppers, but the majority of shoppers that like this and use it is the bigger baskets. Yeah.
Which I guess automatically tends to also be your more valuable shoppers in many ways, right?
That was my next sentence.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, cool. And there's so many of these technologies that have kind of come in, like the Amazon Go type of technology, and they all seem to me like a lot of complex infrastructure that has to go in, store mapping that has to happen, and it's retailers are constantly resetting stores. Seems like for somebody who's operating on a 1 to 2% net margin, trying to convince them to invest a huge amount in those kind of technologies is always a challenge, right? As opposed to where you can scale the operation, you can start with 10 devices and if it goes, move to 20 and 50 and set up something. No, I think it's something that every retailer should really seriously look at as a way to, really enhance the customer experience.
It's also, I didn't even mention that it's hard to quantify, but on a brand recognition level, for the retailers, for some of the, first ones, what we see on social media, TikTok videos, Instagram, shoppers are amazed by the magic that happened in the store. People don't know, it's an entirely new concept in the world. So it's very, very intriguing when people see it in the store, and the positive feedback, and how they perceive the brand and the retailer is changing so much. So I'm sure it affects, we see it in numbers. They're more loyal, they bring more revenue to the store, but I'm sure the long-term effect, how they promote, the store and the retailer with their friends and family,
It is
and,
the viral
the
effect, right?
network
Which is,
effect.
hey, I tried this
Exactly.
this store, you got to go shop here, right? Absolutely.
Exactly. It becomes a conversation. And,
Yeah.
I don't know if there are many other ways for retailers to get in the conversation rather than having a great promotion,
Right.
but it's more classical methods, not
So how do you differentiate yourself? Because I know when you go to these trade shows and you have,
yeah.
Gary, I'm sure you've seen there's sometimes many companies that say, hey, self-checkout, scan and go type of technologies out there. How do you
Yeah.
guys, differentiate yourselves from what's out there and what's unique about Shopic?
I think first and foremost, our clip-on device approach is unique to us. You don't see any other solution like that in the market that is supported by computer vision, that is entirely separated from the cart with no sensors and nothing fixed in the store. So that's the biggest part. Second, we are the only solution that is really working with computer vision on that scale and accuracy levels in production. We just haven't seen something like that in other places. And thirdly, I would say that we are one of the most advanced in terms of maturity level and the size of our deployments to date. We are one of the few companies, if not the only one, which is not Amazon, that got out of the pilot stages and started commercial deployments in more than a handful of stores. So that's we spoke about operations and support and maintenance and all that. It brought us to a whole new set of challenges that we have to solve, but that are really not only to hold really closely 2 or 3 stores, but to start build this in scale and make it work independently.
Yeah, and on a slightly different human kind of level. When let's say you deploy the solution, do you think that employees feel threatened that their jobs are at risk? I mean, is that something
Some
that,
of them, for
yeah,
sure. And it's part of our training because especially today, we've said this from day one at Shopic, even with Scan and Go that have the same threat. But, I don't think you'll go to a supermarket for sure in the US today without seeing we are hiring sign at the store entrance with things like signing bonuses, things that weren't even happening in that industry.
Right.
But the labor shortage is so severe. And, the moment that you take a person from checkout, there are 5 different, people fighting for them in the store, in the same store. So that's really not a threat, especially today. And it's just a different position within the same store.
this is an I told you so moment, Gary, because remember a couple of years ago, just when the pandemic hit and we started the podcast, we said one of the things that labor shortages are going to do is drive adoption of robotics and AI in retail.
Yeah.
Because somehow you got to fill the gap and augment, what's happening to provide the services.
Yeah.
And,
And that's exactly what's happening.
what's happening out here.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's terrific. No, this has been a great conversation, Raz, and obviously you guys are onto something terrific here. So kudos to you. Congratulations for all the progress you guys are making.
Thank you very much. It's
Gary,
been great chatting with you.
Raz, how if people would like to contact you to get more information and so on, what's the best way for them to do that?
I think either through you guys, if that's okay, making the connection, or just shooting us an email at
if you go through us, it's going to be
Shopic.
really expensive because we charge very high commissions.
So info@shopic.co. It's a free way to contact Shopic, or through the website. We will answer each and every one.
Terrific. Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah. It's been a great conversation, and this is it's exciting to see that somebody is actually in production rollout phase, bringing this live into the stores, and I think it's an exciting time for retail. So, congratulations again.
No, it's great, Raz. It's good to talk with you again, and
with you too.
Great to hear all the good news and advancements you've made.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Pleasure talking to you.
Exciting guests coming for all you guys who are listening to us. And by the way, Gary, I heard some terrific stats around. People are actually listening to this podcast. Can you believe it?
Well, I hope so.
So, I mean, I heard this, pretty significant number. So that's pretty exciting. And maybe one of these days, Gary, I was just thinking maybe we should do kind of like a mini series on the history of supermarket retail. I think it would be terrific if you can kind of, speak to some of the pioneers in the industry and kind of get little tidbits about how supermarket retail's evolved over the years, just as a, like a mini series, right? Retail perch mini series.
That would be good. And we also should think about doing a remote perch podcast from grocery shop.
Absolutely. With some of the, terrific innovators that we have here, and, talking to people like Raz, who is kind of pushing retail into the future. I think it's also important to understand sometimes why innovators like this are required to kind of keep pushing the envelope in what can be and improving customer experience and the overall, terrific. Raz, this has been a great conversation. Thank you again. And, by the way, if you do send us your mailing address, now that you're in Boston, there's a better chance that you might get this. We can send you a mug, the Retail Perch mug, that you can have coffee, tea, or whatever you drink in.
Of course. This is why I did this talk in the first place.
There you go.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Well, great to have you here again. Thank you for being a guest on the
Thank
Retail
you.
Perch, and we'll hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make sure to join us every Monday and connect with us at the Retail Perch on Instagram and Facebook.
And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at theretailperch@birdseye.com.
Until next time, this is Shekar.
And this is Gary signing off.